Bill Johnson with the Cats head coach, Joseph Smith. Before we get to round two coming up on Saturday, let's go back to round one. You knew it was going to be a tough game against Pacific Lutheran. One of the things you said that you know the team well, and it's always going to be tough to defeat one team twice in 1 year.
It is. It ended up being probably a little tighter than I would have liked in many ways. But we expected that. I felt that PLU was a very, very good football team since the first time we played them, and thought they played really well. I thought their defense was exceptional and really controlled the line of scrimmage, and they gave us some real issues, and yet real proud of our guys for finding a way to win.
And their defense really did cause problems in both games this year for Linfield.
They did. I felt like they did some really nice things from a schematic standpoint to take away our running game and made us a little bit predictable. And then when we got into some long yardage situations again, they're very good at that. So some of the holding penalties, cost us a couple drives here and there, and our ball security issues. So felt like those kind of derailed us from getting that continuity in our offense. But again, anytime your defense plays well and your special teams play well, you're going to be in the game, and we ended up finding a way to win.
Football can be a very strange game, Coach. You take a look at the third quarter. Linfield did not have a single first down, 3 3-and-outs on the 3 possessions. Mickey Inns goes an entire game without throwing a touchdown pass, and the Cats still come out on top.
Yeah, we have a mentality on our team that we talk about every game, that every phase's mentality is they'll win it. That's got to be their mentality, and on Saturday our defense did. I mean, they set us up with tremendous field position and time again, and scored themselves, and really were responsible for getting us into position to score probably all our points. So really pleased with that. And again, our special teams played great. The kicking game was tremendous. And if you can win 2 of the 3 phases, no matter what, really 2 of the 3, you're going to win games.
Josh Kay seemed like he had about the strongest leg he's had all year long last Saturday.
We've had some protection issues in the field goal protection, and we've spent a little bit of time on that, and I think shored that up, and with that came his confidence and started kicking like he's capable of, and is a real weapon.
Turnovers can always be costly, but the key stat is not necessarily the number of turnovers, but can the other team, which Linfield did, take advantage of the turnovers? And you did on the opening 3, 2 touchdowns and a field goal.
Yeah, where the turnovers occur are always of interest as well, and what happens, they're always bad if they're happening to you, and they tend to be always good if you get them. So real pleased with that, and I thought we took advantage nicely of the ones that we got inside the red zone.
Talk a little bit about this weekend now. This is an entirely different football team and basically a different style of play in the Midwest. So talk about just overall, we'll ask some more specific questions, but what you expect out of the Cardinals coming out of North Central from the state of Illinois.
Well, first and foremost, when we look at the Division III landscape, there's the teams from Wisconsin. Whoever comes out of that's good. Whoever comes out of Ohio, they're legit. Usually Mary Hardin Baylor from the south. So those 3 are going to be there. And then really whoever comes out of the Minnesota League, I think ourselves, and whoever comes out of the West. And then there's the league in the Chicago area, and that's where they're from. I think it plays great football. I think they're every bit as good as the rest of the teams. They tend to just have matched up in the semifinals or earlier with a Mount Union or with a Whitewater and have got bounced out. So I think they're exceptionally good football coming out of there, whether it's Wheaton or certainly North Central is very good. And we just have the utmost respect for what we've seen so far from them.
Would you call it more power football? I notice they throw the ball, they have 12 less completions per game. They have a running back, Nick Kukoc, who's rushed for over 1,200 yards this year. But I guess the one statistic that really stands out, 8.2 yards per carry.
Well, I don't know that they have to just be considered a power run team. I think their balance is what makes them so good. I'd say they're the worst combination that you want to face, and that's a powerful team that's fast. That's a dangerous combination, and I think they're very physical and they're very fast, which is a great combination. And I think their schematics are very good. We're very impressed with what we've seen from the coaching staff and the schematics with what they're doing. They're a very good football team, and they're going to be quite a test for us.
And interesting, they have one wide receiver out of Beaverton.
Yeah, we saw that. I vaguely maybe remember, I'm not sure, but it's kind of funny. You get in the playoffs, and it's really a a state by state, particularly in the Midwest. I mean, it's an Illinois team with the exception of a kid from Arizona, it looks like, and then the kid from Beaverton. But so we're kind of playing Illinois is what it seems like, and whereas in the West you get much more of a melting pot, from a state standpoint. But it's good football. They're solid. I think the kids are really physical and sound. They tackle exceptionally well on defense, and it's a very worthy opponent.
Let's go back for just a moment, Coach, to the defensive effort against Pacific Lutheran University. And when we saw the play where Tyler Robitaille picks off the pass in the flat, takes it in from 10 yards out, it almost looked like, and probably was an instant replay of Chad Coburn and his play down in Southern California against Cal Lutheran earlier in the year.
Yeah, that I can see the similarity. And happy with that. Obviously, we were pretty upset with fumbling the ball on the 5 going in. I felt like our offense was just getting rhythm and was really starting to move the ball, but you just can't put the ball on the ground like we did.
What about Thanksgiving Day? You have a bit of a break, but of course, you're right in the middle of the playoffs right now. So how do you schedule workouts, but a little time off for the guys to maybe have a little bit of time with their family, especially those who live right here in Oregon?
It's a different week all the way around. When you play at home during Thanksgiving, it's nice because the kids do get to go home. Certainly, everybody really within a 4-hour radius has the ability. A lot of kids that are out of state have already gone home, so we're pretty short-handed this week in terms of preparation as it is. But so we're gonna go early on Wednesday, so kids that want to drive home can get home, and we'll kind of adjust our practice to an early morning Thursday practice, a real quick light one, and then come back kind of Friday afternoon. So most of the kids will get a good break for most of Thursday and first half of Friday, and we'll come back and get ready to go.
Kind of interesting to look at the schedule of a year ago when the Cats had to fly clear across country for the second round to Dover, Delaware, and now playing the Cardinals out of North Central from Illinois. They've already had a trip to Southern California last weekend. Now they're coming to the Pacific Northwest. That's an awful lot of travel in 2 weeks' time, especially when it counts so much at playoff time.
No, it is, and I feel for those guys. Having done those trips, I know what that's like, and having to do it back to back, and really, they're faced with the prospect of doing it all the way through. As long as they keep winning. So it's tough, and definitely they'll get better at it as they do it more and more. But it's a hardship. They're going to miss Thanksgiving most likely with their guys. Although coming back over to the West is different because you gain time. So I would assume they can come over on Friday, and because of the time change, it makes it a little bit easier.
Well, you may feel badly for them, but I know you're going to enjoy home field advantage on Saturday.
Well, definitely. I mean, we'd much rather play at home. You get your home fans. You're playing here. You get more sleep. You don't have to travel. So there's a lot of advantage to playing at home. Absolutely.
Cats head coach Joseph Smith.
Very good.
Okay.
You were talking about last week just how hard it is to beat a team twice, and because of that you guys changed things up, or throw in some wrinkles, some different stuff. Is that kind of where that Chad Coburn direct snap came from, or is that something you guys have been working on all season?
Oh, I think that's something that we've been tinkering with a little bit most of the year. Well, not most of the year, but late in the year. Mm-hmm. And it was a nice change up to some of our other things that we have done, and certainly was very effective for us in the game.
The other thing was the turnovers led into those points, and especially the 4 that Richie had himself. A couple fumbles and those interceptions. Mm-hmm. Defense, when it comes playoff time, you need them to play well, and they certainly did on Saturday. I'm proud of that, and looking forward. Hopefully they keep that up next round.
Yeah, if our defense gets 5 turnovers a game, we'll win a lot of games. But we need more balance. Obviously, we can't continue to win in that fashion, and I don't expect our defense really to do that to any other teams here on out. I think the teams that we'll be facing, certainly this week, North Central is very formidable on offense, and we're going to have our hands full. So I don't expect a physical mismatch like there was last week. At the line of scrimmage, our defensive line had their way with PLU, and that's where you tend to see those types of disruption occur. What PLU did well is I thought Richie threw some great balls to Warner. I thought that was tremendous for them, and that guy had a great day and really kept them in it.
the run defense for you guys has been great all season long, and top 10 in a bunch of categories, and first in sacks, obviously. But for a team facing like North Central, they do have that one running back, but they have two guys that are 14 or more touchdowns. And you mentioned the balance too, but just how key is it going to be on Saturday to shut them down in the run, to kind of force them to be more one-sided team?
If we can do that, we'll be successful. I think that's what teams haven't been able to do on them is take away their run game and not make themselves too vulnerable against the pass in doing so. And so I think that's their balance makes them very difficult, because if you try too hard to stop the run, you're going to die quickly in the air with them, because they can throw. So and they have a very diversified run game. They're not just running ISO all day long to one tailback. I mean, they're pretty good balanced rushing attack.
How much of a concern is it that you guys weren't able to really run the ball well on Saturday either?
That's a good concern. I mean, that's very disappointing. That's something we felt confident that we were going to be able to do, and for a variety of circumstances, we're not able to do so.
On a plus side, Josh, you mentioned there's been some protection issues with the kicking game too, but it seemed like Josh had been a little bit out of it, but Saturday he kicked two 40-plus yard field goals, that 47-yarder, big field goals for him.
Oh, they were huge, field goals. When you watch the Oregon State game, and their guys missed those, and we've got the best kicker in the state of Oregon, I'm sure. I mean, he's very good, and so a tremendous weapon. To know that a 47-yarder is in the bag for the most part is a nice thing to have.
And that's something that really has never been in doubt with him. I mean, he's missed some this season, but the big kicks he's made, like that one down at Kalu and the last couple seasons, he's been a reliable guy for you guys.
Oh, he has been. We went back and looked at every kick he's made and missed, and all the ones that he's missed have been protection-related issues, or after something's been blocked. You take that out, and where our protection's been good, I don't believe he's shanked anyone. He missed, a couple of long ones, but it's a little bit to be expected when you put it back there at the high 40s. It's a small target.
A little bit has already been talked about their winning on the road, but they've done exactly what you guys have done, gone down to Kalu and win there. For them, I mean, getting that first road win in the playoffs, long travel, they kind of have a blueprint.
Absolutely. I mean, that blueprint is pretty impressive. And they didn't just beat Kalu, they crushed them and did it in a very forceful manner. So they certainly got our attention and everyone else's attention with that win, because that, Cal Lutheran's very good. Was Cal Lutheran at their peak? No, they were kind of a beat up state in the season for them, but still an impressive road win.
Any concerns too? I mean, anytime, a football game, obviously you have to play for the full 60 minutes, but they jumped out to a huge lead in that first quarter, kind of took Kalu out and forced them to play from behind. That's tough to do. Is there concerns, wanting to make sure that you guys don't do the same thing?
Yeah, we'd really like to not get behind by a bunch early. If we can all help.
The other part of it, you talked about how balanced they are on their offense, but their defense too has been pretty good this season. Averaging
their defense is outstanding. I mean, it's outstanding. So I haven't seen any weaknesses on their team. They don't have any weakness area that I think we can just go out and exploit. They're very good in the special teams area. Physical, fast, good kickers, good punters, great returners. They're all-American corners, very good returner. So there's no weakness on the team. I think they're really sound. I mean, they've got a coaching staff that knows what they're doing and is pretty sophisticated with what they're doing. Sometimes you run into teams that aren't. This is not one of those teams.
Comparisons for you for teams that you've coached against in the past, or?
We've thought about that a little bit. In some ways, they remind me of those Wartburg teams that were really good back in the 02-03 era that we barely beat. They remind me a little bit of Whitewater. They're pretty good. So got our full attention, a little bit like Western Oregon, some of those teams that we've played.
Cool. Go ahead.
Looking at the game on Saturday, Defense gave up some long balls through the air, but considering how much they were throwing, that could happen. But the main thing about defense on Saturday is all the turnovers forced, especially the pick six in the fourth quarter that proved to be the winning margin, and then the last stop of the game, obviously. Really seemed like on Saturday with the offensive struggles that the defense kind of put on the red cape.
Oh, they did. There's no question that defense won that game for us, and very, very proud of them for that. That's something that we've talked all year about. There's going to be a game where you're going to have to find a way to win the game because the other phase is struggling, or just the matchups. And it's happened every year I've coached. It's one side of the ball's done that. In '04 it was our defense got it done, in the championship game. So even though that offense was putting 50 up on everybody, there'll be a day where that doesn't happen, and that's got to be your mindset.
Looking at the offense, there was that stretch in the second quarter where PLU had 3 straight turnovers. You guys get 3 straight scores off of that. At that point in the game, it seemed like the offense was getting into a rhythm and about to go on a roll like they usually have this year. But strangely, after that point, PLU's defense didn't give anything up.
What point was that?
Late second quarter.
Late second quarter?
Yeah.
And I would agree with that. I felt like we could have, and I'm a little disappointed with some of the play calling that I had. I felt like there was a series there that was kind of on me, and then I thought there was a couple holding penalties that put us in a long yardage situation. Those tend to be drive killers against a good defense. You're kind of over at that point, and if not for those, and then the way that the game played out, I felt like we just weren't really able to be very aggressive. We got a lead and to some extent let our defense win it at that point. So had we just told Mickey, let's go to our 4 wides and let's go attack and throw it around, I think we actually could have and did when we needed to towards the end. So
Looking at the offense as a whole for the day, season low in points and yards, 3 turnovers. Other than cashing in off some of PLU's turnovers, they never really did get anything consistent going over the course of the game. Was PLU playing as good a defense as they appeared to be?
They were. I thought they completely took away our running game with some of the stunts they were running. We had a real hard time with that. We had free guys coming through on our run plays, and that's bad. So, we found ourselves in a lot of second and longs. That's generally not a good place to be.
Speaking of the running game, looking back at the recent weeks, last 4 games, Linfield's been held under 100 yards rushing. With this game coming up on Saturday, is there any special emphasis on getting that going in the wake of the last month?
Yes, there has been. So that's something we need to do. We need to be able to run the football, or we're not going to win any games. So from here on out, so you need to be able to run it. And unless your defense gives you 5 turnovers and a couple of pick sixes, you're probably not going to win.
Looking at North Central Illinois, top 15 team, very impressive team. Routing Cal Lutheran last Saturday. Considering how familiar you are with Cal Lutheran and how explosive their offense is, and for North Central to do what they did on the road, just how impressive is that accomplishment?
It's very impressive, very impressive. And I don't know that Cal's the same team that they were when we played them. I don't know what's happened to them. They've given up so much yardage late in the year to some teams that are average SCIAC teams. So there's something going on with those guys, down the stretch. I know they've had some injuries. I know whatever. But to do what they did in the fashion they did, and then to watch it on film, it wasn't a fluke. They physically pounded them on both sides of the ball, and that's impressive.
Looking at their Cardinal defense, at least on paper, they look a lot like Linfield's defense. They don't get up anything on the ground. Pass defense really good, force a lot of turnovers. What's the key to cracking a defense that hasn't given up more than 22 points this year?
Well, I think we're going to have to be balanced. We can't just come out and do one thing only unless it's working really well. We'll do that. But we've got to have some balance, and we got to protect the quarterback, and we got to establish a running game. So really the same thing that we've tried to do every game. We just have to execute a little bit better and not turn the ball over.
Yes. Looking at the Cardinal offense, like we've talked about earlier, a lot of a lot of balance, no real weakness area in that offense. The way they run the ball off their two running backs and the way they pass the ball off their QB, and they're a very balanced group of receivers. And when facing an offense that does not really have any, at least seeable weakness, where do you start and slow it down? A team like that?
Well, I think this is the best offense that we've lined up against by far all year. I'll say that first and foremost. They're very, very good. Watching them on film, I think they're very much in the equation with the St. Thomas, with the Whitewaters, with the Unions, with the Mary Hardin Baylors. This is a team that can win the whole thing. I haven't seen Oshkosh yet, but I gotta believe they're very similar to that. This is a legit top 7-8 team that can win, and so they're everything you think they are. They're very good.
Now, looking back at this time last year, Wesley pulled off probably one of the most incredible comebacks I can recall. And ended your season. How much, is there any special emphasis on this week's game in light of last season in terms of finishing things off, if you can?
No, last season is last season. Different team, different place, all the business, It's just about defending the play in front of you and blocking and getting off blocks and tackling.